Hey, you're on the GameLearner channel, and today we're diving into the 10 most exciting real-time strategy games that are either already out or about to shake up the genre in 2025 to 2026. We've got it all, from true heirs to Command and Conquer to medieval settings with machine guns, from a mad monastery to Roman provinces and esports ambitions. Some of these games are already out, with reviews live on Steam right now. Others are still in development but already giving old-school fans the jitters. So hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment. Which of these RTS games have you tried, or are you hyped to play with a bucket of popcorn? Let's dive in. Strategy is back, and it feels serious. Stormgate is an RTS crafted by former StarCraft 2 and Warcraft 3 developers. It sounds like a genre fan's dream. Veteran devs back at the helm, promising an esports-ready game with co-op, custom maps, a single-player campaign, and even humor. All built on Unreal Engine 5. At first things looked promising, but early access didn't go as planned. Player reviews are mostly negative, calling the gameplay raw and the story dull. It seemed like game over. But then the studio made a rare move. They're rebuilding everything. For version 1.0, they'll rewrite the story, add a new dialogue system, revamp voice acting, missions, UI, and hero progression mechanics. They're even introducing a hub, a mothership, where you can upgrade your army between missions. The campaign will feature 14 missions, including 9 entirely new ones, with non-linearity, items, choices, saves, and RPG-style progression. These are steps in the right direction. Yes, Stormgate hasn't yet lived up to the hype, but it's clear the developers are trying. If they deliver on their promises, the game could regain respect and, more importantly, spark renewed interest. The version 1.0 release date hasn't been announced, but it's expected by the end of 2025. If you believe in RTS and second chances, Stormgate is worth keeping an eye on. Tempest Rising is finally out, and guess what? It's a real banger. The game, long pitched as the heir to Command and Conquer, truly feels like CNC, but from a parallel universe where the graphics are sharper, yet the micro-timings stay classic. The release was a bit chaotic. First, Deluxe Edition owners got access, then the game was accidentally open to everyone, and the devs were like, fine, let's call it a launch. It dropped on April 17th, and the reviews are overwhelmingly positive, even from genre veterans who thought games like this were extinct. 2 fully fledged factions, dynamic missions, progression, upgrades, it's all fast-paced and alive. Build your base, harvest resources, and get gritty. Visually, it's on point. Clean, readable, no garish filters or eye-straining art direction. A strategy game that respects your experience instead of reteaching you how to use a mouse. If you've been craving an RTS with no unnecessary fluff, but plenty of old-school soul, Tempest Rising is here, and it's one of the biggest hits in the genre for 2025. Sanctuary. Shattered Sun is an RTS where you command armies on the surface of a star. And no, that's not a joke. This game makes it clear it's not playing by modest rules. Set on an artificial star, a Dyson sphere. If you don't know what that is, no worries. You'll be too busy fending off enemies, controlling weather, and triggering disasters that rewrite physics textbooks. Sanctuary feels like a pricier RTS than it has any right to, blending Supreme Commander and Ashes of the Singularity, but with bolder visuals, unit customization, and an almost absurd sense of scale. Everything's cranked to the max. Massive armies where every unit can be customized, climate control, literally shape weather to shift the tide of battle. Super weapons that inspire awe and panic, not embarrassment like in some RTS games. The game leans hard into colossal battles where resource management, positioning, and upgrades are king. Yet it doesn't overwhelm. Intuitive interface, free camera, and tactical features that unfold gradually. Slated for release in 2025, if you want to feel like a war god orbiting a star, Sanctuary, Shattered Sun should already be on your wish list. Or at the very least, it deserves to be. ZeroSpace is an RTS where everything happens at once. Yeah, we're not entirely sure how either. It's one of the most experimental strategy games coming in the next few years. The developers call it an RTS sandbox, blending single-player missions, co-op, a story campaign, PvP, and even a seamless MMO galaxy, all within one massive world. It sounds insane, and maybe it is, but that's exactly why it's on the radar for those tired of the one base, one mission, one outcome formula. ZeroSpace aims to create a truly living, strategic world where every battle is part of something bigger. Play the campaign, it impacts the global map. Jump into co-op, your actions shift things too. Dive into PvP. Welcome to a battlefield with finite resources, where your opponent is also part of this galactic sandbox. Visually, it leans hard into sci-fi with slick animations, effects, and an interface that feels like a space station control panel. Set for release in 2025, if ZeroSpace manages to tie all its ambitions into one functional system, it could be the most unique RTS in years. If not, well, it'll at least be a spectacular failure. And that's rare too. Global Conflagration is a strategy game for those who crave realism, not fantasy toads with lasers. If you've ever played the classic Command & Conquer Generals and still reminisce about the satisfaction of sending a Tomahawk missile through an enemy's window, this is the reincarnation of that vibe. Global Conflagration is a modern setting military RTS. No magic, no aliens, just tanks, infantry, vehicles, and a ton of modular customization. Over 300 units, each with unique upgrades, let you decide how to build your army. Impenetrable defense or a mobile strike force. What's especially cool is that units don't just spawn and die. They upgrade, gain experience, and play a role in strategic decisions. There's even logistics. You need to deliver ammo, manage supplies, and hold defensive lines. If you thought RTS games no longer required thinking, you were wrong. This one does. Visually, it's all business. Semi-realistic style, sharp models, and a muted palette. No neon colors or hipster interfaces. Campaign, multiplayer, custom maps, everything's included. Tailored for classic strategy with modern mechanics. Set for release in 2025. If you love strategies without magic but with smoking barrels and coordinate grids, Global Conflagration will hit the mark. Kingmakers is a strategy game where you mow down knights with an assault rifle. Don't ask questions, just enjoy. This game is a wild mix of RTS, shooter, and time travel madness, sending you to the Middle Ages to rewrite history. How? With modern weapons, drones, armored vehicles, and whatever else you can get your hands on. The story kicks off with a future apocalypse, and your mission is to go back in time to prevent it. Naturally, you think, why not take on a medieval army with a grenade launcher? The game lets you command armies in RTS mode, build fortifications and issue orders, then, at any moment, jump into a soldier's body and take direct control. 1 second you're a general, the next you're Doom Guy with a sledgehammer. Visually, it's vibrant, colorful, and chaotic. Picture castle sieges with jeeps, medieval knights fleeing from drones, and you riding a horse with an M4. That's Kingmakers. The game is in early access since 2024, with major updates and a full release planned for 2025. It might just be the wildest RTS you've ever seen. Anno 117, Pax Romana, where city building meets the Roman Empire. The Anno series has long been celebrated as one of the smartest and most visually stunning RTS sandbox games. Now, Ubisoft has decided, this time, let's do ancient Rome. We're not complaining. Anno 117 transports you to the era of Pax Romana, the Roman peace, when the Roman Empire was at its peak, with legions and carts traversing roads instead of tanks and mechs. Players will manage provinces, develop cities, establish trade, keep the populace content, and balance the demands of the central authority, Rome, with local autonomy. The game stays true to the series' spirit: a smooth pace, a focus on economy, logistics, and the aesthetics of growth rather than an arms race. But there are new features. 2 starting regions, Gaul and Britannia, with distinct climates and economies, a deeper diplomacy and influence system, and of course visuals that are like a postcard of ancient architecture. If you're craving a strategy game without dust, grit, or bullets, but with amphitheaters, vineyards, and Roman baths, Pax Romana already looks like the top contender for city-building bliss in the coming years. Set for release in 2025, and knowing Ubisoft, they'll either deliver a masterpiece or remake Anno 1800 in togas. Either way, it's worth the wait. The First Explorers, where strategy meets the spirit of pioneers. This is the game that hands you not an army and cannons, but raw land, a handful of resources, and a dream to build a new civilization. The First Explorers is an RTS, where exploration and construction go hand in hand with survival, as you lead a group of settlers striving to establish roots in an unfamiliar world. Visually, it's minimalistic, inspired by classics like Settlers or Northgard, but with a modern touch. Your task is to build, expand, provide for your settlers, protect your territory, and explore uncharted lands. This isn't an aggressive strategy game. It's a deep, management-focused RTS where every tree, every drop of water, and every new settler matters. The game features dynamic weather conditions impacting the economy, events and threats in the style of survival roguelikes, a moral choice system affecting relationships among settlers and with the surrounding world. If you're tired of strategies where tanks and micromanagement dominate, and you want something more thoughtful with elements of building, exploration, and human drama, The First Explorers could be your new meditative obsession. Set for release in 2025, it's not the most hyped game yet, but it's poised to be a gem for fans of quiet RTS titles, where the real enemies aren't other players, but nature itself and your own mistakes. The Stone of Madness, a game where you escape a monastery in the style of Commandos, but on anxiety meds. Yes, it's an RTS, and yes, it was released in January 2025, and honestly, it's the most arthouse and bizarre project on this list. You control a group of inmates with mental disorders, each acting in their own way. One panics, another hallucinates, a third talks to the furniture. Your goal isn't just to escape, but to do it stealthily, avoiding guards, planning routes, and managing the personal demons of your crew. The art style is like Goya's etchings brought to life, creepy, grim, but stylish. All this in a strategy game where you need to think 3 steps ahead while your characters do anything but what you want. It's a niche release, but has earned very positive reviews on Steam. So, if you're tired of building bases and crave strategic madness where your own squad is the biggest enemy, the Stone of Madness is worth a shot. Stronghold, Definitive Edition. The game you played in school, now with a facelift and no need for a disc from an Igromania magazine box. This is a remaster of the iconic 2001 medieval RTS, where you build a castle, produce cheese, and fend off the rat, the pig, the wolf, and other scum. Released in 2023, we're still including it in the top list because it's actively updated and thriving online. The graphics are improved, the interface is smoother, the voice acting is restored, and new missions have been added. The game remains true to its roots, but feels cleaner, more polished, and more accessible. For old-timers like us, it's a nostalgia fest. Send in the spies. Build the wall station crossbowmen in the tower and get ready to defend. If you want to return to an era where strategy was about economy, sieges, and fat cows, not ballistics and lasers, Stronghold. Definitive Edition still holds the line. So here they are. 10 RTS games worth keeping an eye on. Some are already out and doing great. Tempest Rising has found its audience, Stronghold isn't slowing down, and the Stone of Madness turned out to be a surprise hit for the artsy crowd. The rest are still on the way, but if even half of them live up to the hype, the RTS genre is in for a second golden age. RTS isn't just a genre, it's about building, commanding, thinking, and sometimes yelling at the screen because your peasants wandered off to eat when they were supposed to repair the tower. Drop a comment below. Which of these have you played, or which are you most excited for? Support the video with a like, subscribe, and remember, strategy doesn't die.